Before the air tree, before grace, before Reddit threads debating if the fingers have a brain, at the start of everything, there was only the one great and all-encompassing force so absolute, so infinite, that nothing else could exist alongside it. No gods, no souls, no rot. And then it broke. Not shattered by some grand battle or divine betrayal, it just split on its own, the first and greatest fracture in all of reality. From that split came the Outer Gods, and like any dysfunctional family tree, each fragment immediately developed its own personality crisis. The greater will wanted control, order, law, and golden light at the expense of everything else. The frenzied flame wanted freedom by incinerating identity, memory, and probably your pets. The formless mother craved connection through blood, obsession, and deeply concerning boundaries. The scarlet rot whispered promises of beauty, growth, and decay in the same breath. The dark moon just watched, cold, distant, calculating. The fell god wanted fiery anarchy, ready to burn the world to cinders. The god of rot festered, plotting a swampy comeback. Destined death sharpened its scythe, waiting for the end credits. None of them knew how to build a world, but they all agreed on one thing. They didn't want to share. So they started fighting, not with the swords or fire, but with concepts. Death, time, faith, emotion, they weaponized reality itself, clashing in a storm of divine egos that tore existence apart. The Lands Between was born from that clash, not as a gift, not as a miracle, but as a byproduct of gods who couldn't get along. A world forged in the wreckage of their pride, depending on who you ask, maybe even a mistake. You'll spend the next 100 hours sorting that out, or arguing about it in the comments. After the gods screamed the universe into existence, they left behind a raw, boiling mess called the Crucible. It wasn't a place, it wasn't a thing, it was everything. Life, death, soul, magic, fire, beast, human, plant, and thing that should not be, all tangled together like the universe hadn't figured out what anything was supposed to be yet. Creatures sprouted horns, claws, and bad decisions. Trees pulsed with unnatural fire, and existence was one long evolutionary panic attack. Beasts roamed with scales and feathers, half-formed and feral, while plants twisted into shapes that bled when cut. The horn-sad, blood-soaked warriors of the Land of Shadow didn't just survive this chaos, they threw it a parade. They carved jagged spiral altars to pierce the heavens, spilled blood in rituals that painted the earth red, and built cities of bone and stone to honor the Crucible's wild heart. Their priests chanted like they were hyping a death match, blades flashing in crimson arcs, seeing chaos as the ultimate truth. But chaos doesn't play favorites. It crushed as much as it created, birthing monsters and miracles in equal measure. That reckless energy was a neon sign for gods itching to slap their own rules on the party. The Horn-Sense faith was lit, but it was doomed to get cancelled. Because when gods say, we're gonna clean this up, it always means they're about to make it worse. Back in the Crucible days, when life was chaos, everything had teeth, and nobody was telling you what your soul was worth. Something big crawled out of the mess and decided it was in charge. Dragons. Massive, immortal, made of storm and arrogance. They didn't build kingdoms, they just were kingdoms. And at the top, Placidusax, the first Elden Lord. Crowned by a dragon god so old and obscure, the Golden Order just calls it the one that left. Which, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Placidusax's god got one look at what was coming and dipped. No farewell tour, no final message, just straight up divine abandonment. Then Vale, Placidusax's top dragon bro, turned traitor, ambition burning hotter than a wildfire. The brawl tore Farum Azula apart, claws ripped scales, lightning roasted stone, and storms howled like a divine tantrum. The floating city crumbled, spires dangling like a bad haircut. Placidusax, battered but too stubborn to quit, parked on his throne, waiting for a god that left him on red. He's still there, frozen in time, a monument to getting ghosted by divinity. The dragon's reign faded to whispers, their glory the first to get nerfed by the god's new script. The Golden Order would love for you to forget this ever happened. And honestly, most people did. Because once the air tree shows up, history gets overwritten fast. But Placidusax wasn't the last to get erased, just the first. So, the dragons are chilling in their eternal storm bubble, waiting for a god that's never texting back. The Crucible's still running wild, and everything is alive, dying, mutating, and regenerating like the world's stuck on random. Enter the Greater Will, an outer god from somewhere way out there, no one knows where, no one knows why. It doesn't send a message, it sends a meteor. Inside that meteor, a giant star monster called the Elden Beast, glowing with divine energy and a serious need to micromanage. And just like that, the world gets colonized. Elden Ring is born. Not a ring, not wearable, definitely not jewelry. It's a giant metaphysical rulebook that rewrites how reality works. First rule, death is illegal now. The greater will looks at the natural life cycle and says, yeah, no thanks. So it rips destined death out of the world and it locks it in a vault. From now on, souls can't move on. Corpses don't rot right. The afterlife gets soft deleted, and no one notices because they're too busy staring at the new centerpiece, the air tree. A giant glowing monolith growing out of the ground, beaming light like it's pretending to be holy. It's beautiful, majestic, radiating something called grace. And if you feel it touch you, you get blessed, chosen, marked. Which sounds great until you realize grace doesn't mean salvation, it means compliance. This is the start of the Golden Order, a system where everything has a place, and every place is decided by a god that's already checked out. The dragons, forgotten. The crucible, buried. Death, illegal. And if you're wondering what happens when you cut death out of the life equation, don't worry, we'll get there. So, the greater will's done reformatting reality and needs someone to keep the mess running. You know, pass down orders, manage believers, maybe stop things from collapsing. But believers get the fingers. Not the finger, fingers, actual massive twitchy flesh stumps. And somehow these become the world's highest religious authority. They're called the Two Fingers, and they're worshipped as the literal voice of the greater will. Because in the lands between, if something's big, weird, and old, it must be holy. But here's the thing, they don't speak, they just squirm, twitching like they've got divine wisdom to share. A bunch of wrinkled old interpreters, the finger readers, sit there watching these stumps flop around and go, the will of the stars say you should jump off a cliff. Probably. Did people question it? Nope. Because faith doesn't need clarity, just consistency. Then there's Meteor, the mother of fingers. Not a god, not an angel, more like the wriggling source of this whole operation. Tied to rot, to decay, to control, and possibly the only thing actually listening to itself. But that's nonsense, right? The greater will couldn't abandon its messengers, wouldn't let them fake it for centuries while the world tears itself apart. Right? After centuries of wriggling fingers pretending they had a hotline to God, the greater will decided it needed something a little more hands-on. Enter Marika. She wasn't from the lands between, she was a Newman, an outsider born in the land of shadow, a place even the air tree's grace didn't dare shine. A survival of brutal, lawless worlds where gods didn't bless, they bled. And Marika, she didn't just survive it, she conquered it. Chosen by the greater will, or maybe by Meteor, depending on who you ask, Marika was given a simple divine mission: bring order, no matter the cost. So she did what every good chosen hero does when handed ultimate power. She started killing everyone who disagreed. Leading the genocide? Mesmer the Impaler, her secret cursed son. A walking war crime with a torch and a divine permission slip. Mesmer didn't conquer, he incinerated. He wiped out cities, faiths, whole cultures, because Marika decided the lands between didn't need diversity, it needed obedience. And the air tree, it just kept glowing. As if nothing was wrong, as if grace could bleach away the blood underneath, the Hornsant warriors who still worshipped the old crucible burned, impaled, erased. Their cities fell in flames, their spiral altars smashed, their blood soaking the earth. The glow-eyed queen, wielder of destined death, leader of entire faith, slain and forgotten, her back flame snuffed out. The Nox, star-worshipping sorcerers who defied the air tree with their finger-sling blade, banished underground like moldy leftovers, their eternal cities left to rot. It was a holy war, and Marika won. The land of shadow was left a graveyard, the crucible was buried beneath new myths. And destined death, the very idea that life should end, was sealed away where no one could reach it again. For her devotion, Marika was crowned Empyrean. Not just a queen, not just a god. A potential replacement for the greater will itself, someday. But somewhere in all that blood and burning, a seed of doubt took root. Maybe it was the sight of her own people broken and erased. Maybe it was realizing that the greater will only cared about obedience, not truth, not justice, not even survival. Maybe it was the whispers of something older still rotting underneath the air tree's golden bark. But first, Marika had a kingdom to build, and a world to break. Marika had wiped the border clean, burned away the wild fates, killed the rivals, sealed death itself in a time capsule. Now there was only one tree, one ring, one rulebook, the Golden Order. On paper, perfection. In reality, she just kicked the existential crisis a few centuries down the road. But empire building is exhausting, even for demigoddesses with trust issues. So Marika did what every god king eventually does when they realize conquest isn't sustainable. She got married. First up, Godfrey, the first Elden Lord. Big, loud, perfect for punching dragons in the face and committing casual genocide on giants. Together, they stomped kingdoms flat and carved their names into history with blood and ash. But once Godfrey ran out of things to murder, Marika showed him the door like expired milk. Congrats, you're now tarnished. Please collect your complimentary exile on the way out. Next up, Radagon, who was also Marika. Short version, self-obsessed but politically motivated. From that glorious divorce came the Golden Children, who, as it turned out, were less divine heirs and more family drama waiting to explode. Godwin the Golden, her perfect son, chosen heir, would later end up spectacularly dead, but let's not spoil things. Morgoth, born an omen, hidden away like the family's cursed secret. Mog, also an omen, immediately started a blood cult because, honestly, what else was he gonna do? Melania, born with scarlet rot already devouring her from the inside out. Miquella, twin to Melania, brightest, kindest, and most quietly horrifying of them all. Mesmer the Impaler, Marika's hidden son, cursed and exiled to become divine war crime incarnate. Yeah, Marika's family tree didn't branch so much as it imploded, but nobody talked about that, because outside, the heir tree was still glowing, grace was still flowing, the Golden Order still looked flawless. Underneath, rot, rage, regret, because when you build your entire civilization on forced immortality and collective amnesia, it doesn't stay golden for long. And sometimes it only takes one well-aimed knife to break a god's dream apart. Enter Ranni, stepdaughter of Marika, Moonborn Empyrean, walking I hate it here energy. Ranni didn't want the throne, she didn't want the Elden Ring, she didn't even want the stupid tree, she wanted out. So she made a move no one, not the Greater Will, not Marika, not even fate itself, saw coming. The Knight of the Black Knives. Using a stolen shard of Destined Death, the forbidden concept Marika sealed away, Ranni armed a secret crew of assassins, half mortal, half shadow, 100% done with his divine con job. The target, Godwin the Golden. The chosen heir, Marika's pride and joy, the Golden Order's shining billboard that everything was just fine. They didn't just kill him, they soul murdered him. Godwin's body rotted into a grotesque root-sprouting corpse that quietly started poisoning the heir tree from the inside out. His spirit, shattered, empty. The perfect son turned into the perfect symbol of rot. And Ranni, she ghosted her own body, yeeting herself out of the Greater Will's control, becoming pure spirit, untrackable, unreachable, unchained. The Knight of the Black Knives wasn't just an assassination, it was proof. Proof that even gods could bleed, proof that even fate could break, and once that secret was out, the Golden Order wasn't just cracking, it was bleeding out. Marika stood at the center of it all, cradling the corpse of her future. And deep beneath the bark of the heir tree, something ancient started to stir. Because when the gods can't fix something, they destroy it. Which brings us to the shattering. If you thought you had horrible coping mechanisms, well, Marika could give you a run for your money. After watching her favorite son die a soul death she couldn't undo, she finally snapped. Not with a war, not with a speech, not even with a dramatic anime power-up. She just walked up to the Elden Ring, the literal operating system of reality, and smashed it. No grand explosion, no divine choir, just a sad, wet crack that broke the rules of existence like a dropped iPhone screen. Radagon, her other half, her worse half, her cosmic guilt complex, immediately tried to glue it back together. Failed so spectacularly, it would have been hilarious if it wasn't, the death of objective reality. The Greater Will panicked and locked Marika inside the heir tree like a misbehaving golden retriever, shoved Radagon's spirit in there too, and prayed some divine marriage counseling would fix it. It didn't. Meanwhile, outside, everything collapsed. The demigods grabbed shards of the Elden Ring, great runes like they were Black Friday deals, each one pulsing with power and bad ideas. War broke out, a brutal free-for-all that tore the lands between apart. Marika's tantrum didn't just break the ring, it broke the world. With the Elden Ring shattered and Marika grounded inside the heir tree, it was officially free real estate season. The demigods didn't waste a second. No alliances, no negotiation tables, just pure, uncut stab your cousin for clout energy. First up, General Radahn versus Melania. Two living weapons, swinging for the fences in the most catastrophic 1v1 of all time. Radahn, demigod Chad, master of gravity magic, refuses to upgrade his horse. Melania, goddess of rot, terminally ill, terminally deadly, carrying enough trauma to legally qualify as a natural disaster. Their duel, it didn't end with a victor, it ended with an ecological apocalypse. On the brink of losing, Melania unleashed scarlet rot across Caelid, turning it into a festering radioactive wasteland. Radahn survived, technically, his mind didn't. He went full feral, riding his poor horse into the void while devouring corpses like he belonged in Demon Slayer. Meanwhile, Mog, Lord of Blood, dipped out of the family brawl altogether. Instead of fighting fair, he decided it was more productive to kidnap Miquella mid-coma and drag him underground to do weird blood cult things. Miquella's whole deal deserves its own breakdown, trust me. Back at the ranch, Morgoth, the last loyal son, fought to defend the heir tree, only to be betrayed by the very system he bled for. The heir tree slammed the door in his face because in the lands between, loyalty gets you a gravestone, not gratitude. And the rest? Rykard, done with the family drama, fed himself to a god serpent, turning into a lava-spewing blasphemy that snacked on gods in his volcano lair. Godric hoarded his great rune, grafting limbs like a budget Frankenstein, begging for anyone to take him seriously. The other demigods rotted away in their paranoid kingdoms, clutching their runes like cursed heirlooms. There was no winner, no new Elden Lord crowned, just an endless slow-motion collapse. The Shattering Wars was never really ended, they just decayed. And the lands between kept waiting for someone, anyone, stupid enough to think they could fix it. The demigods were busy killing each other over a broken chair. The air tree was leaking death like a punctured Capri Sun. And Ranni, she had already dipped, but she wasn't just escaping the mess, she was building something new. Ranni didn't just want out of the Golden Order, she wanted it gone. No more grace, no more two fingers pretending they had the answers. No more gods whispering about obedience while everyone rotted. She reached out past the air tree, past the greater will, and found something colder, older. The dark moon. Not salvation, not a promise, just freedom, and the brutal loneliness that comes with it. But even Ranni knew you can't start a cosmic rebellion solo. So she formed her own little apocalypse squad. Blade, the wolf knight loyal enough to break himself for her. War Counselor Iji, the giant smith who knew the risks and stayed away. Saluvis, the human resource violation she tolerated for tactical reasons. Together, they prepared for a future without grace, without fate, without gods breathing down their necks. Not a better world, just a freer one. Cold, silent, empty. But after centuries of divine gaslighting, empty sounded pretty damn good. While the rest of the demigods played bloodsport over a dying kingdom, Miquella was building something. On the outside, it looked like hope, a new tree, a new faith, a second chance for the cursed, the broken, the forgotten. On the inside, it was control. Miquella didn't just want to fix the lands between, he wanted to rewrite it. Root and branch, mind and soul, he bled himself into the roots of the Halic tree, pouring everything he was into building a world where suffering could never take root again. Sounds nice, right? It wasn't mercy, it was nascency, birth by force. A new existence where weakness, doubt, even love itself would be sanitized, polished, perfected. Because Miquella didn't want followers, he wanted puppets. Unalloyed gold, the miracle he invented, wasn't just a shield against outer gods, it was a blueprint for a reality so pure, so controlled, no outside will ever corrupt it again. Malenia, the misbegotten, the Albinaurics, they didn't choose Miquella. They were woven into his dream, pulled in, changed, made to belong. And when Malenia, carrying Scarlet Rot home after nuking Caelid, poisoned the Halic tree's heart, Miquella didn't stop dreaming. Even trapped in coma-deep roots, he kept weaving a better reality, deeper, stronger, crueler. That's when Mog thought he won, dragging Miquella's body into the blood-soaked depths, trying to marry himself to divinity. Reality? Miquella let him. Mog wasn't the kidnapper, he was the pawn, because Miquella's real plan was already in motion, to shed the last pieces of himself, to leave behind mortal weakness, to ascend into something new. Not a king, not a god, something untouchable. A future where no god could enslave you, because Miquella already had. In the ruins of the Land of Shadow, surrounded by graves of gods that dare to dream differently, he realized, you can't heal a system built on ash and silence. You have to burn it. He yeeted Saint Trina, his sappy love nap vibe, into the Land of Shadow's trash bin like a cancelled reboot. No more gods, no more grace, no more futures written in blood. Miquella's final plan isn't mercy, it's control, and he'd use Radahn's soul as his consort to do it. That star-smashing saga needs its own breakdown, huh? Miquella's dream collapsed. The lands between wasn't just bleeding out, it was screaming. And in the cracks between rot, betrayal, and failure, the real masters of this nightmare started waking up. Not new invaders, not foreign threats, they were always here. The outer gods. Fragments of the first cosmic division, ancient hungers older than time, each one whispering a different flavor of apocalypse. The greater will, still clinging to its golden corpse dream, trying to patch the system it broke. The frenzied flame, laughing from the sidelines, ready to melt reality into one giant feelings blender. The formless mother, bleeding devotion and blood together until nobody remembers which came first. The scarlet rot, promising beauty through decay, growth through endless suffering. The dark moon, offering freedom so distant and cold, you won't even remember you're a prisoner. The fell god, plotting to torch the air tree into a bonfire. The god of rot, sealed but leaking, its plague creeping back. Destined death, silent, patient, waiting to turn out the lights when everyone's done breaking each other. They never needed an invitation, they never needed your permission. The outer gods were here before the air tree, before the golden order, before you. And now, they're just picking at the corpse of a world too stubborn to die properly. Godwin's death didn't just break Marika's heart, it broke death itself. His corpse sprouted death root, cursed tumors choking the air tree's roots like a fungal horror show. Dying glitched, spirits lingered, corpses shambled, and the afterlife turned into a tavern with no exits. Those who live in death, Godwin's undead fan club, roamed as ghosts and skeletons, flipping off the Golden Order's no-death rule. Flaw, the deathbed dreamer, schemed for a duskborn age to give the dead some dignity, hugs as creepy as they were sweet. Dung Eater, a walking war crime, cursed souls into eternal misery for kicks, his armor screaming bad news. Garank, the beast cleric, chowed on Deathroot, his glowing eyes heavy with regret, howling at a moon that didn't care. The lands between didn't just crack, it rotted, choking on a fake immortality that tasted like stale ale. And as the last sparks of grace flickered, the greater will, desperate and out of place, rolled the dice one last time. It reignited grace, calling you, the tarnished exile nobodies with rusty armor, rustier dreams, and a death wish carved in bone from graves beyond the fog. The two fingers, flopping like they've got the answers, pointed to the air tree, promising you'll fix this divine dumpster fire. The lands between is a wreck. Cities crumble, rivers choke on plague, and the air tree's glow feels like a dying campfire. It's a graveyard of gods, demigods, and broken dreams, its skies thick with rot, ruin, and betrayal. But you, tarnished, are the wild card, the last shot in a world that's all out of heroes. You are not chosen, you are not promised victory, but you are the last gamble this world has left. And if you want to know what happens next, you know where to go.